Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast. We are here this evening, Thursday evening, May 14th, in order to discuss a book that apparently is informing an upcoming movie. Is that correct, Mark Radulich? Superman, Woman of Tomorrow?
Yes, Jesse. We are looking at this book, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King, because it is the inspiration for the June movie by James Gunn, not directed by James Gunn, but he is producing it, and it is under his leadership of the DC on film universe. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, starring Millie Alcock.
Millie Alcock, who fans most recently saw in the first season of House of the Dragon.
Okay. And it co-stars Jason Momoa, abandoning his role as Aquaman and claiming the role that he should have had all along as Lobo.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
There are interviews back when he was first announced as Aquaman, before any of the movies were made, before even the cameo in Batman v Superman came about. And the interviewers were asking, what other roles do you think you could have played in the DC universe? And he's even going with like, Lobo? He's sitting here going like, look, I'm happy to play Aquaman, but why haven't you cast me as Lobo?
Yeah, there's just like, I'm looking at you, Jason. I'm a casting director, and I'm looking at you, and I see you, and you have a very, I'm thinking Mr. Miracle. The fuck? Anyway, Jesse, that's what we're doing here tonight. We're reading the book so that we can be prepared for the movie.
Alexis, I just want to ask you real quick, your history with Supergirl. Give me your thoughts here on Supergirl, the character.
Well, we did also do TV Party tonight for the Supergirl, the live action series, although we kind of did it sporadically because we did like the first season and then the fifth season.
I only think we did one season of that.
Yeah, we kind of jumped around a lot.
There was a year where I was like, the entirety of the month of either May or June was like DC women superheroes. So we did like a season of Supergirl. We did a season of I think the first season of Batgirl is what you might be transposing.
Oh God, was also the month we did Birds of Prey, and I cursed your name for making me watch that series.
Possibly, yes.
This was the early 2000s Birds of Prey. This was the one where you have a not really huntress who refuses to wear a mask and shows up in fancy clothes and has it's supposed to be a batarang, but it's literally bigger than the book. It made no sense whatsoever.
I know you asked Alexis what her history with the character is, and she Alexis the question, but I will say this: I really enjoyed the Supergirl series. I don't think I finished it because everything stopped during COVID, and then when it finally came back, I was into other shit. So I never I know I finished Arrow. I don't think I finished Legends, Supergirl, or Flash. But what I saw of Supergirl, I really, really liked, and I actually think they did it. This is the one with Melissa Benoist. And I actually think they did a really good job with that show. I know it didn't appeal to everybody, but I think a lot of the people who didn't like it did not like it for some not so great reasons. But back to Alexis and her history with the comic book character.
I will say I did really like the Supergirl show, especially the way they worked in references to that god-awful 80s Supergirl movie, which we would all like to forget. What was the Omega Tetrahedron? That was the power source thing. It's like, I remember in the first season, they actually worked one of those in. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
All I know about that first, we reviewed that on Trial when, I don't remember what movie was out at the time, but I'm sure it was synergizing with that. And I showed that Supergirl movie to my daughter. And there's a point at which Supergirl goes into the water and comes out as...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She comes out in her costume, fully dry.
Right. Dry as a bone. And my daughter, who's got to be like 7 or 8 years old, is like flipping tables over. Fucking dry. She's dry, Dad. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
I was too busy wondering how Supergirl's laser vision brought the flower to life. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. You don't get laser vision. You get life vision.
Don't be sexist, okay? If Superman's fucking heat ray beams can rebuild the wall of China.
Oh, God. We do not talk about that movie.
Then Supergirl's lasers can make flowers bloom.
Jesse, help me. We don't talk about Superman 4, right?
Yeah, I agree. Although I did do the comic book adaptation at one point on, gosh, you guys remember Periscope? It was
Yes.
the TikTok. Yeah.
Who is so fucking upset? Look at me! I'm at an auction molesting people's wares. And
Look at that guy's shoes. Look at that guy's shoes. A lot of fun.
Jesse's
But no.
early influencer.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I was like, I'm out of this. Get me out of here. TikTok, whatever. Yeah.
As the boat passes by.
What is this thing? What a fad. I personally don't have a huge history. You guys talked about the series, and I remember watching a few episodes of the Arrowverse. It's the Arrowverse, right? Or is it separate? Okay.
No.
Yeah. So I remember watching a few episodes of that, but never really got into it. I think some of the most memorable comic book moments I think of Supergirl is back during the death of Superman, when she was the clone. It wasn't actually Superman. It's like Lex Luthor had made a clone, and she gets she gets destroyed and smashed and turns into a pile of goo during the Doomsday fight, or tries to fight Doomsday. But aside from that, I'm just not fully involved in a lot of Supergirl comics. Don't know her much throughout the animation world or the live action series. I like the version of Supergirl we got in the Flash movie. I didn't mind it. I thought she was whoever played her there, I thought that was a cool rendition of Supergirl.
You know, we've done some Supergirl on here. We did on 20. I have it up now. We have Supergirl being super in 2020. I think that was me and you, Alexis, and then Jesse, you and me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Supergirl Girl Power in 2023.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So I remember Mark making fun of me for not liking the Supergirl costume in the Flash movie, and you were like, "Oh, what? She needs a skirt or something?" And I said, "No. The fact is that there's no boots and there's no belt. It literally looks like she's wearing footy pajamas." I don't need my Supergirl to look like Quinn from Daria, okay? But I need something else on the super suit, okay? Just like I said, give her belts, give her boots, give her something.
So this brings us to Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Before we get into that, I want to get into the creative team and get your thoughts here, Mark Radulich, on Tom King.
We've talked about Tom King so many times. I enjoyed Identity Crisis. That was a fun podcast. The third of it that we spent on Tom King's imaginary death threats, I thought was good stuff. I enjoyed his Vision series. I made the Mr. Miracle joke, about which I believe is Tom King, and for a while that was everyone's like favorite comic. If you walked to a comic book store, that was on like every staff's list. His Mr. Miracle run. What Tom King we've done on source material, I think I've generally enjoyed. Like, Jesse, you would have a better memory of the trauma I've given you than I would. But is there a Tom King book that we've read that I really got pissy and moany about? Because I don't think there is.
Did you guys do the Batman Catwoman wedding? Because I know Tom King got more than
one. There it is.
No, because I've read the first 4 volumes of the Tom King run on Batman, and we did City of Bane.
Right.
And I don't think we were particularly negative about City of Bane. I think there were some issues with it. I think we agreed the best stuff was the conflict between him and his alternate universe father. But yeah, way back in the day, Jesse did a What You Reading, and I told him I had read The Wedding, and I was like ready to strangle Tom King because why can't Batman ever be happy? I thought it was bullshit the way they handled him and Catwoman, but it was to set up the City of Bane storyline down the line. So comic books. What can you say?
Yeah.
I saw Tom King at a Comic-Con, and apparently he was not having a good time because this was right after the Catwoman debacle, and he looked like, God bless the man for coming out to talk to the fans and everything, but apparently a lot of people had come out at him and they were not happy.
Because of the wedding?
I think that the Batman Catwoman wedding was a bigger outcry than the most recent attempt by Marvel to make it look like Captain America was actually a Hydra double agent. Remember when they had to say Hail Hydra and the fans went nuts, and so many people have been reading comic books for millennia. We're like, guys, this has happened before. Okay, chill. But you two remember the outcry from that. I think Tom King's run with the Batman Catwoman wedding got a bigger outcry than that.
Yeah.
Because my argument to Jesse at the time was her reason for leaving him at the altar didn't make any sense to me. And Tom King sort of like super narrative about like Batman can never be happy didn't sit well with me at all. Was that the consensus opinion for people who read The Wedding?
Pretty much.
Awesome. I'm on the right side for once.
They were just upset because yeah, fans want Batman to be happy. I'm with you here, Mark. There is this crazy belief by comic book writers that Batman always has to suffer, and it kind of gets annoying after a while. Yeah, we love dark comic book characters, obviously, but we don't want to see our characters constantly suffer. We want to see modicums of hope. We want to see them be pulled out. We want to see them have a reason to fight for a better tomorrow, because that's what we want.
I don't need comics to be misery porn all the time.
Mark, you mentioned Identity Crisis. I think what you meant was Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's where the Flash, he ends up going back in time and like killing somebody, if I remember correctly. And
it's Wally West, apparently the patron saint of fucking DC Comics.
People were upset about that too. I remember that being a problem because people did not like the characterization of Wally West and what he did in that book.
Yeah. Well, were the fans? I would say, were the fans too busy saying "Damn it, Barry"? Now they were upset that they have to start saying "Damn it, Wally."
No, and they half make fun of it, half take it seriously. But a lot of people's whole thing was that Wally West was like this very like pure and ultra heroic person. He's not the kind of person who would go back in time and kill anyone, and that's what Tom King had him doing, so that he could go forward and tell this story about trauma. We may need to revisit that episode, because Chris Sheehan on Tom King and trauma porn was some of the funniest and insightful commentary I've ever heard. God, I miss Chris Sheehan.
It was him and Chris Bailey. I don't know which one coined it, but they always said Tom King walked into your house, broke all your furniture, and left you the mess to clean up.
That was Bailey.
That was Bailey.
That was Chris Bailey. Chris Bailey.
Chris Bailey. So
now you guys did mention his run with Mr. Miracle, and I have heard really good things. I haven't had a chance to read that yet, but that's on my future need to buy when I have a little bit better money situation.
Sure. We've talked about Tom King. So him taking the reins of a Supergirl comic, I was kind of wondering what we were going to get. And I feel like what we got here was not what I was expecting. I'll just put that out there. So this came out in 2021 to 2022, 8 issues. We have our art, which was pencils and inks by, and I'm going to mispronounce some names here, Bilquis Evely. She's a Brazilian comic book artist.
Is it Bill? I thought IS was silent. I thought this was a French pronunciation.
I'll tell you what, I like to go to the Carrabba's and I like to dip my bread in the Bilquis. Let me tell you, nice little dish of Bilquis there. That's fantastic.
So how would you say it, Alexis? Bilquis?
Yeah, I thought it was Bilquis Evely.
Okay.
Again, I have heard 5 variations on this when I was doing side research for review. So, and every single one of them actually said, I don't know how to pronounce this name. So
count me among them, people.
The third name on this book is even worse. Matthias or...
Oh my God, it's all consonants.
Oh God, it gets worse. The second page is all punctuation.
Just emojis. Mateus Lopez is...
It's pictures of food.
Hey, I was actually trying to do a Greg the Bunny reference.
Mateus Lopez on colors, lettered by Clayton Cowles. He's a pretty big mainstay I usually see on a lot of books. So that's our creative team here. So I'll go ahead and get into the summary, and I'm summarizing all 8 issues. I'm not going to break or anything like that. This is going to be a real kind of truncated 3-paragraph summary of everything that happens.
Alexis and I don't have a lot to say about this book or podcast in general, so you might want to stretch this out a bit.
Okay, how's this? Characters. The characters you are going to get in this book, before I get into the summary, we have Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. Kara is the emotional and moral center of the story, but not in the way you'd expect. She's not written as an unstoppable superhero. Instead, she's tired, isolated, often weakened, and constantly choosing restraint over power. What defines her here isn't strength, it's control. She could solve most problems with force, but she actually chooses not to in some situations, even when she's hurt, angry, or pushed to her limits. Though Ruthye, which we'll talk about her in a second, through Ruthye's eyes, Kara becomes something mythic. What we actually see is someone carrying immense trauma and responsibility, quietly trying to do the right thing in a universe that doesn't make that easy. And then we have Ruthye. She's the narrator of this story, and in many ways, the true protagonist also. Everything we see is filtered through her voice, her grief, her anger, and eventually her reflection. She begins as a girl singularly focused on revenge after her father's murder, but over the course of the journey, that goal becomes more complicated. Traveling with Supergirl forces her to confront bigger questions about justice, cruelty, and what revenge actually accomplishes. By the end, she's not just telling a story, she's shaping it, turning painful truth into something more like legend, which says a lot about how she processes what happened. And then we have our villain. You could also mention the brigands who are kind of that this villain is hanging out with, but Krem of the Yellow Hills. He's our antagonist, but he's not written as a grand world-ending villain. He's something more grounded and a lot more uncomfortable. He's a coward. He's a survivor, an opportunist who repeatedly chooses violence when it benefits him. What makes him effective is that he's believable. He represents a kind of everyday cruelty rather than pure evil spectacle. And over time, the story complicates him slightly, suggesting the possibility of change, but never fully absolving what he's done. He's less a final boss and more a symbol of a kind of harm that ripples outward and affects everyone in its wake. And then finally, Crypto. By golly there, Crypto, he's a good dog. Crypto serves as the emotional catalyst for Kara more than anything else. While he doesn't have dialogue, his presence grounds Supergirl and reinforces her capacity for care and connection. When he's hurt, it cuts through Kara's restraint in a way that almost nothing else does, making things suddenly personal. And I shouldn't leave out Comet here either, because Comet makes an appearance, and I have no idea what Comet is until the reveal of him turning into a human. Like, I had no clue that was something that was in Supergirl lore. But Comet is Supergirl's faithful horse who was apparently changed into a horse from a man into a horse.
I guess every feminist fantasy.
She's a horse girl. Wait, what?
Don't look at me. I grew out of my horsey phase a long time ago.
All true girls want men to be horses.
Oh,
they can ride them, they can plow with them, they don't talk, and they can pet them when they need comfort.
The don't talk thing is probably big on every woman's list.
Just putting a bite right in there.
All right, so there you go. That's the main characters we're going to kind of see. There's a lot of other characters that are going to be showing up through this, but they don't stay. Our three main ones are going to be Krem, Supergirl, and Ruthye. So unless you guys have any objections, I'll go through the 3 paragraphs of the synopsis, and then we'll soldier forth. On a distant, unforgiving world beneath the red sun is where Ruthie's at. A young girl named Ruthye tells the story of the day her life was shattered. A man named Krem, posing as a noble traveler, murders her father without cause and flees into the stars, leaving behind grief, questions, and a burning need for justice. Refusing to let the crime go unanswered, Ruthye sets out across the galaxy to hunt him down, eventually crossing paths with Supergirl, who is far from Earth, weakened by a red sun, and celebrating her birthday alone. Though reluctant at first, Kara agrees to help the girl, not out of a desire for vengeance, but because she recognizes the weight of Ruthie's loss. What follows is not a straight path to revenge, but a long, dangerous journey through strange worlds, hostile environments, and encounters that test both of them in ways neither expect. As they travel, Ruthye begins to see Supergirl not as an untouchable hero, but as a person, one defined not by her power, but by her restraint. Along the way, they witness the devastation Krem leaves behind, broken communities, senseless violence, and the quiet horror of people who survive by looking the other way. On one world, an entire town hides its guilt behind politeness, forcing Kara not to act as a warrior, but as an investigator, uncovering buried truths. Through it all, Ruthie's desire for revenge remains strong, but it begins to shift as she realizes that Krem is not just a man. He represents a larger, more unsettling reality about cruelty, survival, and the choices people make when faced with fear. Meanwhile, Kara endures physical weakness, emotional strain, and constant provocation, yet repeatedly chooses compassion over violence, even though it would be easier to give in. When they finally confront Krem, the moment does not resolve as cleanly as Ruthye once imagined. Faced with the man who destroyed her life, she cannot bring herself to deliver the vengeance she sought. And Supergirl, despite everything, refuses to cross that line as well. Instead, Krem is left to face consequences that unfold over time, far removed from the immediate satisfaction of revenge. In the years that follow, Ruthye reshapes the story into something more mythic, one where Supergirl delivers justice with finality. And we'll talk about that here in a second, because the ending is at first, it really confused me. But now that I've had an opportunity to kind of research what other people think, I think I have a good idea of what's going on. But the truth is more complicated. The journey leaves both of them changed, revealing that heroism is not about power or victory, but about the difficult choice to hold back, to endure, and to carry the weight of a broken world without letting it define you. That is our synopsis of what happened in the 8 issues of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So before we jump into the specifics here of what's going on, what everybody wants to talk about, Mark, I'll run this past you first. Did this feel like a superhero story to you, a revenge romp, like crossed with a road trip, or something else? What was your thoughts here as you kind of finished the book?
I thought it was kind of like a road trippy, not buddy cop, because it's not really comedic, but I definitely think it was, like I said, more of a road trip book. Supergirl and Ruthye are on the road to track down Krem of the Yellow Hills and deliver justice. And along the way, they get caught up in misadventures, and Ruthye learns the value of mercy and forgiveness. Supergirl, it's an interesting idea. What an elevator pitch. I'd like to do a Supergirl book where Supergirl really isn't the hero of the story. Supergirl is the delivery system.
She's the teacher, right?
Yeah, Ruthye is the one that has the hero's arc.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an interesting take on this. It's the Supergirl is the hand of Ruthye. Given what we saw, because we've seen the trailers for Supergirl, the movie, before I read the book, and the way it's being played is she's just sort of bored. Like the whole idea behind Supergirl's character is she was sent to Earth to protect her cousin, and by the time she got there, he was the greatest protector of the planet. She didn't need him anymore, and so she's sort of purposeless, going around trying to figure out where her place in the world is. When you have Superman, I made the feminist joke before, but it's an interesting kind of like feminist folktale of where do you, as a big, strong woman who has her own agency, fit in when there's a male version of you, and the universe prefers the male version. Mm-hmm. Where does that leave you when you're practically the same? And in some iterations of Superman and Supergirl, it is said that Supergirl is actually stronger than he
She's
is.
stronger,
But
right?
who gives a fuck? It's like, sure, we have Daniel Bryan over here, but everyone loves John Cena. Is your wrestling reference of the night. So I thought I didn't dislike the book. It was not the best book I've ever read, but it's an interesting take and an interesting pitch for a narrative that you want to tell a story about this character no one's ever heard of and her journey. But the only way to get that going is to have this purposeless super god as sort of like the action part of this duo. And at the end, it's like it purposely brought you the long way so that by the end of it, you would learn the right lessons. I was hoping you would learn the right lessons, and it worked, and you're better off than where you started. And that's as good a hero's journey as any. We leave the book, we leave the story better with the hero, the lead, better than where he or she started. I thought that was all fairly good stuff. Like I said, I like most of Tom King stuff, but when Tom King gets it wrong, he really gets it wrong, and it pisses people off, including myself. This was right in the middle. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen him do. It's not the Vision series either.
Okay. Alexis, I thought that when Crypto was taken out, I was like,
well, just throws the book in the air. I'm not reading this.
I thought that Supergirl, this was going to be Supergirl goes John Wick.
But Crypto survives. Crypto's
does.
Okay. It's like, don't worry, folks. I know you all saw the trailer that shows poor little Crypto getting poisoned. He's fine by the end. James Gunn is not cruel enough to give us a movie where the dog dies. I'm sorry. We saw the reaction of people who didn't want to see the horror movie Good Boy because everyone was terrified. It took like 15 different reviewers to all pledge saying, no, the dog lives, or anyone would go see that movie. Same thing here.
That's
now
good.
I think of this more as a buddy comedy that turns into an action adventure comedy. The big saving point with Kara here is that she is so jaded because unlike Kal-El, who was a baby when he escaped and has no real memories of Krypton or his family, she was 14 when she watched her family. It's like first Argo City survives, and then side note, I love that they give a better idea of how the kryptonite is formed under their ground, because it's literally the ground under their feet becoming irradiated. It's not just random chunks of the planet that got irradiated. No, this is like the ground of Argo. I thought that was a really clever idea. And she has to watch all these people around her die. It's like first she saw the majority of her planet die, and then she has to deal with these people dying of radiation poisoning. And God help them if they don't include the speech that her father gives her about repurposing the lead into making the rocket for her, because that is such a good speech. And I'm really hoping that they include that. I think it's David Krumholtz is going to play her father in the film, and I really hope we get to hear him give that speech.
Yeah, that's one of my notes here. I'll just go ahead and cross off. Like, that was one of the things that stuck out to me, was how she had to live through the trauma of watching the planet all fall apart. And then we're barely staying alive here as we're floating out into space. And then everybody on that asteroid starts to get poisoned with the radiation. She has to go through, they take some extreme measures to lay out the lead, and then that doesn't even work. So there's a lot of, she had to go through a lot. And that was, again, something that was new to me, at least shone a light on some of the horrors that she had to endure. Kal-El did not have to endure any of that. He didn't remember any of that. He just knows his planet got destroyed, right? He didn't have to watch them all die, which is a big deal. I like the Ruthye aspect of this as her being kind of the narrator, and she brings a unique voice to it.
I was getting Kevin Smith Daredevil vibes.
Oh, it was too wordy for you.
Admittedly, it's the first part of the second third of the book. It does get really wordy. There's at least one piece here where they're just sitting on what is essentially a bus, and Ruthye is narrating everything, and I am literally sitting going, yes, please.
It's a bit self-indulgent.
I feel like it was more part of the character. Just that's how she was brought up, and that's how she talked, and that's how she was telling the story.
Hey, but that's still the writer making an active choice.
Sure.
It's still Tom King making an active choice to do extensive narration. And that's where I like this is a little self-indulgent, because Tom King, I think, is speaking through Ruthye, and I don't think the book is made better for it. I think that's a baby that had to be sacrificed. I don't think anyone told him no.
Well, it didn't bother me. It'd probably be one of the few times, because I am kind of like on where you're at when it comes to wordy dialogue. Like, it will annoy me more than it will. This one I actually gave it a pass for, so I'll just put that out there. So any thoughts there, Alexis, as far as like any moments throughout before we got to the end of this journey, like what you saw in the book that you'd like to talk about?
The artwork alone is amazing, but I think the part that has lasted with me the most is, where the heck is it? Oh, Green Sun and Dinosaurs.
Well, yeah. When he tosses the orb and sends her like billions of miles across the galaxy.
Yeah, again, this is some absolutely gorgeous work, and I love the dialogue in it. Normally, my biggest problem with the access narration is that I feel that it pulls you too out of the situation. I have problems with books that have multiple narration in this way, and I feel that by having Ruthie's narration against the girls talking can sometimes pull you out of the sense of what you're reading. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah, but I love first of all, this is such a powerful scene because the Green Sun is essentially kryptonite poisoning, and it's killing Kara, and they got to wait 10 hours for the sun to set.
I love her thinking about like Superman had been sent there before. Right.
Yeah, because that's such a great. It's like, yeah, Superman. It's like, really? How long did he take? 45 minutes. How long have we got? 10 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, just see that the animals. She goes, "Hey, that was a blinking bird. No, it's a plane. No, it's Supergirl." Just, I really hope that dialogue's in the movie.
Yeah, she has a foul mouth on her in this book, which I think is funny because
both do.
Yeah, in my mind, when I go into this book, I'm expecting the prim and proper Supergirl. She's not written like that. She's written as somebody who saw their fair share of tragedy and is on a journey, which is also compounding the tragedy that Krim and the brigands something was over there that are just unleashing upon planet after planet after planet. And she just goes in there. And I think one of the more moving issues is the one where they go to the planet. This place keeps like records of everything that happens. So she's going to walk into like this church or wherever it was, some big building that has records of what Krim and his people did. And she continues to tell Ruthye, you do not want to see this. And she comes out of that building and her eyes are filled with tears because of what she's seen. They do a really great job of building up Krim as a bad guy. I gotta say that by the end of issue 7, you want this guy to get his head cut off. You want this guy to get killed.
Absolutely. In a way, he's kind of a troll. He essentially goes to these locations, insults the king, and gets people riled up because he is literally looking for traitors. So if you agree with the trolling, then you're a traitor and you're going to die. But then Ruthie's father, who's very loyal to the king, says, you can't say that. And he's like, well, I don't want to be threatened. Stabby, stabby.
Yeah. I think he says, how dare he pretend that he's a rock farmer? How dare he have an opinion about me? And then, yeah, stabbed through the chest.
Side note, I've watched way too much My Little Pony because I hear rock farm and all I think is Pinkie Pie and her families. They literally have a rock farm in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And I was just like, oh my God, Ruthie's family is working alongside the pies.
When you got into this book, was it what you expected it to be?
Not in the slightest. This one really caught me off. Again, the narration it does take a while to get into. It kind of reminds me of the first time I sat down to read Lord of the Rings, in that it is a very different style of writing. And if it's not what you expect, it can be very hard to get into. You kind of have to force yourself to get past it and to get past some of the slower parts of the beginning of the story, because this is a very, very slow, not a slow start, but it's like it starts and then it just stalls a good chunk of the middle. And then all of a sudden it gets better again, and then it gets better. And the last chapter of the book doesn't even have any narration.
Right,
so
right.
Again, it's very different. And I can see a lot of people may have picked it up and had a little hard time reading it because of that style.
There was some wild stuff that happened in here. Like when she was on the bus, you mentioned the bus thing, where she was like, okay, who's got him? Who's holding? And she's looking for like people that have red kryptonite pills, so she can apparently eat or ingest them. And then all of a sudden it like makes her visions become actuality.
Right. It is an interesting thing with Tom King that he has to deconstruct superheroes, but he doesn't have to go as far as like a Garth Ennis or the other one who we have to turn everybody into like the worst versions of themselves. But I think the idea that people like to get high, it's if math is the universal language, a universal behavior is people want to escape their humdrum lives through illicit substances of some sort.
Oh, no. So if math's the universal language, drugs are the universal money. Sure. Universal money. I was trying to think of a better word for money.
Okay.
I think the idea that she's a good and a noble person, but she's still a person. And she has her struggles, her mental struggles. And she, too, kind of just doesn't want to be alone in her own skin. So she's bugging people on a bus for drugs. It's a very human, relatable thing. But I can see where people who like to see their superheroes be above reproach would have a struggle with that. I can see why people have a problem with Tom King, because if you're looking at your superheroes as something to ascend to, they're supposed to be better than all of us. They're mythological, they're modern myth. And then they're acting just like your everyday humdrum shitty humans. It's like, well, then what am I reading this for? If I want that, I can just go talk to my parents.
Except your parents don't have superpowers.
Well, there's an argument they do some things pretty well though. And listen, keep an eye out for those releases on the Suno and the Spotify. But go ahead, Mort.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's all I'm saying. Again, it's not about the powers. That's sort of the low-hanging, silly interpretation. It's about wanting to be something. This is why people, I think, go to religion. They want something beyond themselves. Now, there's a lot of people out there that don't want something beyond themselves. I think the self is God, and there's the schism. So I think yourself is God people probably don't care that she's looking for drugs on a bus, and they want to see themselves in their mythologies, and so her seeking out drugs on a bus is appealing to those people. But the other half, who are just like, there's got to be something more than this life, are looking at her and like, I wish you were better than me, and this makes me not enjoy the comic as much. And it's interesting to me that Tom King, among others, are very much in the business of making superheroes relatable in a world where at least I think half of the audience really doesn't want that. Like, I don't know what the consensus opinion of comic book readers, not critics, I don't care about them, but the consensus opinion among readers of comic books thought of this book, because I almost guarantee it would be split.
I feel like this one, there was something to be said here, and I think it was an interesting story that was told for sure. And I don't know, this definitely wasn't as offensive as Heroes in Crisis, that's for sure. Because I've got a couple notes on issue 8, but before I get there, Mark, did you have anything that you had note-wise as far as before we get into the ending?
As I was reading the book, I like that at the end, Supergirl is like, I know better than you. I have lived a life, I have seen some things, and I know what it's like to be you. And it's kind of that Batman thing of like, you can't punch your way through healing your trauma. And killing Joe Chill doesn't bring your parents back. Killing Krem, of the yellow mustard, doesn't bring your father back. Revenge is Tony Stark's line in Endgame. His line about revenge for being corrosive and he doesn't want it anymore, I think, is a good one. The idea of forever wanting vengeance, and because it never stops with that one guy. The guy that kills your dad and you finally get him and then you're not satisfied, then what? It's like a drug addiction. And I think Supergirl kind of instinctually knowing that and trying to impart it to her. I know this, Jesse, because I've said it to you as of late. I like stories with good mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this with Hercules and Amadeus Cho. We've talked about this with other characters. The ChatGPT reminds me whenever I do my essays, you are circling the same fucking thing and a lot of what you're talking about. That I think one of the things that's missing in society right now is good mentorship, people with wisdom imparting it to people who are coming up. It's one of the failures of community as of late. So I like that it's in the book. One of the few things that I think King did really, really well in this is to know that Supergirl has a very important role as a mentor to this character, and she leaves her better than she found her. And that is ultimately why I lean on liking the book more than not, because at least it got the theme and the message right.
So speaking of the topic of revenge, it kind of leads me into my second to last note or so here. We're near the end of the story. Ruthie's on the beach. She has the sword in her hand. She's kicked the crap out of Krem, and she's won. She's got him dead to rights, pretty much. She continually tries to bring this sword down and kill this guy, and she can't. And for a moment there, I thought that Supergirl kept interfering, which was kind of strange because I knew she was up dealing with the brigands or whatever, but I was like, well, maybe she took care of business and came down here and is like super speeding and making her miss or stopping the thing, because it kept looking like she was trying to kill this guy. She'd bring the sword down and then stop. And she'd do it again.
Klutzy, I missed again.
That's what I thought was happening. I was like, well, she cannot kill this dude. Which the lead up to that is so great because Comet, the horse, is down there and left there specifically to kind of watch Ruthie and make sure that step in front, and which he does actually at one point when she thinks about killing Krem, who's tied to a tree. And then when Kara's getting her butt handed to her by the brigands, Comet kind of knows about it and he wants to go up there. They must have some kind of psychic link because she's telling him to stay down there, or maybe it's just super hearing. I have no idea. But anyway, she's telling him to stay because Ruthie needs someone to watch her. And then Ruthie looks at the horse and says, "You have my word." This is how they end issue 7. "You have my word. I'm not going to kill him." The horse takes off into space, and then she turns and she's got the sword in her hand and she's looking at Krem, and you're thinking, I think she says something like, well, the only thing that's stopping me right now is my word. And you don't know if she's not going to do anything to this guy. And then fast forward to issue 8, he's let loose. She's got the sword to his neck and she cannot kill him.
Doesn't she say something like, if you've never broken your word to a horse, it's not that hard.
Right. So what do you think's happening here, Mark? She's got the opportunity to get the revenge she set out for, but she cannot bring herself to do it. So did she just kind of grow past wanting that and didn't realize it at the time, or what's going on?
Do you remember in our discussion of the show Happy, where we're talking about the daughter in the second season about ready to kill Sunny Shine? And there was a whole discussion that we had about killing people is not a natural thing. Believe it or not, it's not easy to take a human life. We are raised with valuing human life. It's what makes some conversations like the death penalty and abortion hard. Is all life is valuable. We should love all life. It's part of the religions that we're brought up with. But there comes a time where we have armies, and armies are trained to kill people. There are people who they grow up in dysfunctional, toxic, traumatized areas, and they have no value for human life, and they just as easily take one as spit on the ground. So I think you have Ruthye, who the worst possible thing that happened to her was she lost her dad. But she did not grow up in the fucking mean streets of Baltimore.
They weren't forgiving Rockfields, though. She talks about some of the bad stuff that she had when she was growing up. But yeah, you're right. It's
not implied that she had this like toxic, traumatized fucking upbringing to where she doesn't value human life.
Right.
She's hurt. She's mad. She wants the pain of the loss of her father to go away. But she's not immoral. And it's not an easy thing to kill somebody. It's an immoral thing, as a matter of fact. And if you have any sense of morality and value of human life, which normal people do, no matter how mad you are, you're probably not going to pull that trigger. You're not going to kill him. And I think Tom King was right to write it that way.
So it really does show how much he's grown as well, because Krem is not begging for his life. He's not asking for mercy. He is an asshole through and through, and he is sticking by his guns of, it's like, I'm a King's agent and I don't deserve this.
Well, I can kind of see it from his point of view. Not that I think he's in the right, but it's I don't want to get too political, and I don't want to debate the institution. I'm using the institution as an example. But if you're like an ICE agent and you're sent into an area and you're told, grab people darker than you, what are you supposed to, that's your job. I'm sorry, that's the job. And we can debate the merits of whether or not the job should be, which I'm not going to do at this time. But if you're that guy, if you're that ICE agent, you're just like, all right, it's what I was told to do. It's what I'm getting paid to do.
But this guy wasn't just grabbing people. This dude is like straight up killing people.
And he was straight up enjoying it, to the fact that he left his sword behind.
Right.
Which is the catalyst that starts the whole
his frame of mind is, I was sent to do a job. I did the job, period, comma, the end. There's no emotion in this.
Okay.
And for her, it's a lot more important because it's her dad. For him, it was just a Tuesday.
Oh, my goodness. Street Fighter out soon.
This October, see Street Fighter coming to a theater near you.
No matter what that give us with David Desmalchian, it is never going to top Raul Julia saying, for me, it was Tuesday.
Alexis, I want your thoughts on the very last part of this book. So I'm going to set it up for the people, and then I'd like your interpretation as to what happens, because I was kind of confused. And then I did a little bit of research. I think I'm a little bit more on solid ground. So at the end of this book, I think it's like the final page, after Kara has made the decision. I'm going to call her Kara. I'll call her Kara. Just be ready.
Call her Chloe.
Call me Danny. Call me Donnie. So they've beaten Krem. Krem is missing a few fingers. Well, I wouldn't say he's begging for his life, but he hasn't changed any. But there's an opportunity to kill this guy. Supergirl shows up. They don't do it. And then when we find out, we cut pretty immediately to 60 years into the future.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, do Ruthie's people just age faster or do Kryptonians age slower? Forgive me, but the artwork does not show how much Kara has aged other than a haircut. So it's kind of hard to tell how much time has really passed for one or the other.
Right. Ruthie's definitely significantly older than at least when she started this journey. And Supergirl shows up and says, where would you like to do this? And they walk out into a field, which is probably the same field where her dad was killed. And Supergirl takes out the Phantom Zone disc, and it relays the story that Krem has been in the Phantom Zone prison. And for him, it was like centuries Like the first 100 years, he was defiant, and she talks about how he was defiant, and then like the next 100 years, he started to become a little bit quieter.
That's a White Christmas from Black Mirror.
Yeah, that's what that's the own Phantom Zone there. And then finally, at the end, he his last 100 years, he becomes repentant, and he's grown. And I think one of the words that, or the phrases used, is that there's still hope for this. And then she unleashes the Phantom Zone, or opens it up, and out comes Krim, who is definitely significantly older. And then
he finally begs for forgiveness. I guess I kind of looked at it as she put him out of his misery. He's been in the Phantom Zone for so long, because then it shows that, well, it's a silhouette, and it looks like she's either conking him on the head or stabbing him with her pole. I can't really tell from the angle exactly what happens, but that's what I thought. I thought that was it was okay. You've suffered enough. I'm done with you.
do you think he got killed?
I do.
Okay, because they don't make that obvious. To muddy things even further, you have Ruthye, who's narrating the thing, who then says that Supergirl is the one that killed him on the beach. So I was kind of confused as to what actually happened. There's also a theory that when I looked at it, I see him get hit, his arm goes to his head, because all you can see is the silhouette. His arm goes down by his side, and then you just see him kind of laying there. Don't know if he's dead, don't know if he's alive. You just see him get conked in the head, and he's out. So what's your interpretation? Do you think that she actually killed him? Do you think that Supergirl actually killed him on the beach, and Ruthie's just an unreliable narrator here? Or do you think what we're seeing in the art actually happened?
I think killing him on the beach was a metaphor for putting him in the Phantom Zone. I think that was like, he may as well have been dead.
Okay.
She took away the last of his humanity when she put him in the Phantom Zone. Because we've read the books, we've seen Superman 1 and 2. We know what happens when you go into the Phantom Zone. I like to think that it was a death sentence, but it was a prolonged one.
Okay, that's very interesting, because
I could be wrong.
I don't know. I was sitting there thinking, like, did she just undo everything that she supposedly learned 70 years later? Like, she just decided, okay, I'm going to kill you now. I don't know. So here's the other theory that I had. And Mark, you can jump in here if you have an idea as to what happened or not. But so there's moments, I think, that Ruthye mentions in her narration that she's writing a book, or she's telling a tale about Supergirl. This whole thing is actually, it seems like she's trying to tell a story of...
I believe you're right. She's in her hole back in the Shire, and she's at her writing desk as she's writing.
I think that's what she's doing. She's actually telling a story about this time that she ran into Supergirl. And one of the theories that I had seen is that what we're actually reading in the narration is the story that is getting like revealed in this book. There's a mention of how she wrote a book, and it was supposedly fictionalized or whatever. But in order to make sure that the brigands don't like come after Ruthye, she put in the book that Supergirl was the one. And this is nothing that's on any panel in there, but a lot of people believe that Supergirl talked her into saying, when you write this book, say that I killed him on the beach so that the brigands don't come after you.
She Christopher Nolan Dark Knighted it.
Okay, perfect.
I think what Jesse's getting at is that he really went in the Phantom Zone, but she said, say that he died on the beach, so there's no reason to come after you any further. There's no ambiguity about what happened here. And then she pulls him out of the Phantom Zone, and after it's one thing to kill a guy who's unrepentant about what he's done to you. It's another whole thing to where he's learned his lesson, but he's already lived a very long life, and it's like, all right, it's time to rest now. I think Tom King is trying to say something about redemption, about rehabilitation, the idea of it is not really a good thing to kill somebody when they don't know they've done anything, when they're, again, unrepentant about having done anything wrong. However, Jesse, do you remember the conversation that we had? No, it was me and Evan who had this conversation, but you listened to, I think, the podcast. We were talking about Road to Perdition and the institution of confession, and that your sins are washed away so that you can be a better person. I think what Tom King is getting at with this last little bit is this is sort of an absolution of sins. You are absolved, and now you can go into the next life having been washed clean.
Interesting.
You have made good. You have done, what is it, where when you go to confession and they tell you, like, go do a Hail Mary and a whatever. He's made his penance. He did a zillion years in the Phantom Zone, and he's like, all right, it took me this long, but I realized killing people is wrong. And he's ready to move on to the next life, and they're ready to send him there because now he's earned it.
So brutal. I did not take it like that. I think she just knocked him in the head, and then because I cannot see Supergirl just being like, okay, here he is. You ready to kill him? And then just walking off.
I don't know how many old people you've come across, but generally speaking, knocking them on the head's not a good idea. They don't last too long. First question they ask you at the hospital is, have you fallen lately?
He doesn't look too healthy when he comes out of the Phantom Zone. He's a bit frail.
He looks like fucking, I was a man once.
All right. Well, hey, I don't have anything else left to say here.
I am really excited to see how they're going to adapt this into the movie coming out. I'm curious to see what parts they're going to keep, what they're going to cut. They're going to work Lobo into it.
Judging from the trailers, they seem to be treating it a lot lighter than Tom King did.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't seem to be nearly as thoughtful or as pensive as she is in the book.
I think they're playing off her depression more with her drunken stupor more than anything else. The very first scene with Supergirl is her literally grabbing the sword, and she's already drunk on a red star. She's like, no, you give the sword back to that girl. So I think they're trying to play that up more for laughs than anything, which frankly is probably the smart move. I think people are laughing at that. But I also wanted to note how glad after reading this, it really also makes more sense with what we got with the Supergirl cameo at the end of Superman, where they're showing up and being drunk. And it really paints it in a different light, because I know a lot of fans who saw that, who hadn't read the book, were very, oh God, why is Supergirl like that? Supergirl doesn't get drunk. Supergirl's not just that blue collar kind of a thing. And it's like,
which version of Supergirl are we talking about here? Because there were Supergirls, because I was thinking about the way Melissa Benoist played her. And there are absolutely iterations of that in Supergirl. And then there's a third Supergirl out there, the one that's really pissed, the one that's really angry about it, and is having a hard time controlling herself. And like Superman's like, please stop destroying things. Calm down. You're giving me a bad name. And she's like, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. You don't own me. Like that version of Supergirl.
Fuck you and Comet, huh? Yeah, now that's something I don't know how the hell they're going to put on the screen if they try to include the horse.
Comet.
I fully admit it, that when I read the bit with the horse, I was, because I'm sorry, I could not separate this from reading it and not imagining how this will look on the big screen, knowing that they're doing an almost one-on-one adaptation of this, and sitting here going, it's like, horse.
Horseman. Let me tell you how confused I was when she's in the middle of getting like just destroyed by these brigands. Comet comes up there, and then all of a sudden there's a dude, and I'm what happened? And then I missed the part. I had to go back and see where Comet gets struck, and he's half man, half horse at that point. So what is he, a Minotaur? Is that what that is?
Centaur.
So it's just so it took me by surprise. I'm sure a lot of people were cheering it because, hey, oh my gosh, it's Comet. No clue over here. So anyway, yeah, and if it's a 1-to-1 on screen, nobody's going to have a clue who the hell Comet is.
I completely forgot, because when I think of horses, I honestly either go straight to She-Ra, or I think about that weird time where Wonder Woman's invisible jet was a horse.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that was for a time. The invisible jet could turn into a horse.
I don't want to have to explain to my mom what Comet is. Okay.
Are you kidding me? You have any idea how hard it was trying to explain to my family about what they asked what I was reviewing this week, and I was like, oh, it's about, and eventually it's just like, it's the book that Supergirl's getting adapted to with the summer release. Okay, let's just leave it at that. I have a hard enough time explaining what I do for a living to you people anyway. For God's sakes, I'm wearing a Has-Been Hotel necklace. Do you have any idea how hard it is to explain that to people who don't watch the show?
That's right. Yep.
Side note, made it myself.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Well, there it is. I think we've got it all out there. We have discussed Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Let's get into plugs. Mark Radulich, you have the floor.
All right, this past Monday, it was myself and Robert Winfrey and Jason Teasley. We reviewed Mortal Kombat 2. I put up my TikTok for Mortal Kombat 2 today if anyone's interested. Last night, Gavin graced us with his presence. We talked Justified City Primeval, which is the sequel to...
And a big hat.
And then this Monday, we've got a triple feature. Robert said that I can put anything on the schedule, anything I want, so I'm torturing him every chance I get. So we're going to do Pretty Lethal, Mike and Nick and Alice, and Thrash, 3 streaming movies. It's a catch-up show.
Have you watched Mike, Nick and Alice yet?
I have not. I haven't even seen the trailer.
I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about that, because it is not what you're going to be expecting.
Okay. I can't wait. And then a week from tonight, Jesse, we get to make a KMFDM song out of Jupiter's Legacy. It'll be a fun time for all at the old town tonight.
I love it. That's it?
Yeah, I'm really tired, dude.
Wow. All right. Mark's about to go Sleepy Town 9 nights. Alexis Hana.
Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. Now, normally we do a ton of cons around this time of year, but travel expenses have decided to fully bite us in the ass. So I have actually been kind of going easy on the convention circuit these last few months. We are going to be doing 3 back-to-back shows in August. First, we're going to be doing the Comic-Con Nebraska in Omaha.
Oh.
Last year was their first show. Love going out there. I'm actually probably going out there early so I can have a few days off just so I can go do the zoo and do shopping. Omaha is like one of my favorite places to get in a quick vacation. I know it sounds weird, Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, known for its tourism.
No, seriously, guys. I know it sounds weird, but Omaha's a really great place to go take a quick breather. Best zoos in the country, terrific shopping, and the food there is amazing. Best steak in the country, without question. There's a reason you hear like Omaha steaks. They are amazing. So we got that. All right. After that, we're going to be doing Kansas City Crypticon. That's the local horror convention. Had a lot of fun doing that last year. Got to meet Warwick Davis last year. So I don't know who's coming this year, but it's going to be fun. And then we are heading out to Colorado Springs for the Colorado Springs Comic-Con. We do that one every year. It's one of our favorites. For no other reason, I spend a few extra days out there so I can go hiking at the Garden of the Gods. As far as TV party tonight, we do have a couple of shows that I need to get on the schedule. We're going to be looking at Amazing Digital Circus. Jesse, I hope you have started watching that.
But I will.
All right.
Yeah, I always get the show in before the show is airing, so don't worry.
All right. And I do want to ask you something, because we're also going to be doing Spider-Man Noir, which I'm really excited for. Jesse, do you want to watch it in black and white or in color?
Have no problem watching it in black and white. So
all right, because Ben Colon is going to be joining us, and I basically, you remember, Mark, when we watched that one Netflix movie, Kaleidoscope? Remember, and you could watch in different orders. I kind of want to do the same thing with this. It's like I want to make sure at least one of us watches it in color and at least one of us watches it in black and white.
Gotcha.
Because I want us to be able to compare the styles.
I like that. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more, because maybe I'll switch over to color and let you film enthusiasts do your black and white stuff.
All right, well, we got House of the Dragon, the 3rd season trailer just dropped. So I'm hopefully going to be getting some more stuff on the schedule, and you guys will be seeing me more this summer. Until then, I don't think I have anything on until we discuss the finale of The Boys. It's so prophetic, for God's sakes. The episode where Homelander reveals a giant golden statue of himself. At the same week, they put a giant golden statue of Trump down in Mar-a-Lago. And again, this show was written a year ago. This isn't them being like South Park, where they're commenting on what's currently happening.
Jeez.
It's kind of terrifying.
That's scary. Scary, scary stuff.
But yes, I think that's the next show that I am coming on for you guys. Honeysuckle Rose Creations. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Stores are available on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon.
Yes, go check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, I do a podcast also called the Unspoken Issues Podcast. Astro City, Part 1 and Part 2, which was all 6 issues of the first volume and the half issue. Those aired this past Monday and Tuesday. Previous to that was Shadows of the Empire, where we talked the comic book. Mark was like, they didn't make a comic. And I said, yes, they did. Boba Fett, man.
I banged his shoe and everything.
He's like, you're full of crap. No, it actually happened. And we talked about it. And I think this coming Saturday, I'm recording with Evan and Chris again, and we're going to be doing an episode of source material called on Tag and Bink. Apparently it's a Star Wars adjacent thing. So we're going to be doing that. So with that being said, the Marvel Snap podcast that I do with Evan Bevins called Snap Material. Check that out too. If you like Marvel Snap, I think those episodes are airing right now. Shout out to Ben Cologne. I know he got a little confused and we did miss him tonight. It's not a problem at all, dude. Stuff happens. I have forgot plenty of things, so no big deal, brother.
I was going to say, none of us are perfect. And Ben, I can't wait to have you on for Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, be a lot of fun, man. All right, with that being said, be well, be safe, and get the fuck out of here.